No, certainly. And thank you for having me, of course, and great to see you guys again. And appreciate everything that Maura just said because it sets up all sorts of great talking points. She covered the market and the industry great there, and kind of where it's going and where it's heading. So, kind of to answer your question, it feeds right off of kind of what Maura's statistics really fed into there. Traditionally, the market historically was always kind of large volume producers that kind of did break ship, and maybe they sold to smaller regional distributors that then met the end customer's needs, or they were distributing to those end customers themselves. So recovery wasn't something that many really thought about that much, unless because a lot of the supply of those large producers were really on the pipelines or on the source itself. So their cost of CO2 was extremely low. Dry ice cost was therefore reasonably low as well. Good margin business, but they didn't. The capex to opex question, and that kind of it becomes a how much capital do you want to spend to capture that CO2? And CO2 is kind of cheap and inexpensive and readily abundant. Well, that world has changed in a couple of different ways, and the first one is that other category, that 23% that Maura noted. The market really has definitely shifted to more localized, regional, customer-focused supply of dry ice. Part of it is just from that customer service aspect. Part of that is that sublimation aspect that Maura noted. You lose about 8% of the volume of ice every day through sublimation. So if you think about producing in corner X of the US and ship it hundreds of miles away to another distributor who repackages it and then gets it to an end customer, that ice could be 2 or 3 days old. And by the time you get it, so you've lost 10, 15, 18% of the volume of that. So that's important. That drove some of the regional shift, but especially in blasting, as Stephanie will, I'm sure, speak to later, the quality of ice is critical. The better, the higher density and the fresher the ice is, the better it is for as a blasting agent. So having 2 and 3 day old ice is not ideal or opportunistic at all. So all of these trends and shifts kind of focused on more regional distribution, smaller, if you will, distributors and independent distributors, and not that large majors producing in high volumes. And from that now, it's okay. Now I have a supply of CO2 issue. As Maura noted, we are losing volume, not gaining volume of CO2, and I think that shift will continue to change, and we'll get more alternative supplies online. So my cost of CO2 is higher, my cost of distribution is higher, and then the market's gotten much more competitive too, because it is a much higher margin product offering than just plain gas distribution. It's a more value added service, and readers are enthusiastic about the market. So because of that, small scale recovery, as I kind of term it, is something that is still very new. There's a couple of decent products on the market. I still don't think any of us have really honed in on getting the exact right product to the market, to the product market fit, if you will. But we're all working on continuously advancing that, because we've got to lower the capital expense to get the ROI on the captured CO2. If you have a 100 ton per day or 200 ton per day plant, the math works out great. If you have a 20 ton per day plant, or 30 or 50 ton per day plant, or even a 10 ton per day plant, the economics are kind of they're in balance somewhere, and it really depends on how much you say spending on CO2. As Maura noted, your easy math is always 2.5 tons or 2.5 pounds of CO2 make one pound of ice. And so the lower you can get that number down, the better. And when you capture, you can save it. So there's a couple of different options. You can capture it, or you can make the equipment more efficient. And part of that is subcooling the liquid. The colder the liquid going into the machine is, the less loss you have of gassing off that CO2. So there's all sorts of great options in there. And it just comes down to what's the economics, what's the ROI, and what's the supply of CO2. So as all of those things kind of converge together, you're going to see more and more recovery systems out there. I think personally, everybody that's producing ice should have a recovery system. It secures your supply, it lowers your overall utilization of CO2, and it makes you more cost competitive in the market. So I think you're going to see more and more of this in the coming years.